Hi, I'm Richie Coleman and appreciate the opportunity to offer reflection regarding the three approaches to making decisions regarding moral conduct. I think at its essence, leadership is the ability to influence, and our ability to influence is ultimately determined by creating an environment of trust. Trust is determined by ability as well as character. Aristotle posited that our ability to influence is based upon logos, ethos, and pathos, that is, logic, credibility, based largely upon ethics, and passion. At our core, we are all emotional creatures challenged by the tyranny of the ego. I approach leadership through the lens that before we can lead others, we must first master ourselves by knowing who we are, and I found this week's learning outcome to be quite revealing. I agree with Yana Voisin's assertion in the article, The Overview of Ethical Decision-Making in Business, that ethical decision-making is crucial due to the significant impact upon all. I believe this point is a key factor in what I call the cultural abyss of distrust that's affected our country. For example, the Harris-Gallup Pew Research Center recently announced a mega-study consisting of 128 surveys conducted over 60 years that clearly demonstrate Americans have lost trust in 19 out of 20 major institutions and socially with each other. This rate of distrust grew over 50% and has accelerated over the last decade. I view this with concern because I believe trust is the oxygen to democracy. I approached the North House survey with interest, which posits three different approaches to moral decision-making. The consequentialist approach focuses on outcomes of a decision to maximize the overall good or utility. For example, in a business context, layoffs to stabilize a company's financial situation is a necessary step for company survival. There is less personal accountability in this because the focus is on the result rather than the means. Critics argue this can lead to justifying unethical means if the outcome is beneficial. The deontological approach centers on rules, duties, and obligations. Actions are morally right or wrong regardless of outcomes. Certain principles must be upheld. For example, a manager might refuse to falsify financial reports even if it could save the company because integrity and honesty are seen as fundamental duties. This approach demands high personal accountability as individuals must adhere to moral principles regardless of consequences. The virtue-based approach is grounded in the character of the decision maker. This approach evaluates the moral character demonstrated through action. For example, a manager who values transparency might engage in open discussions about a company's challenges with employees rather than only discuss favorable outcomes. There is an emphasis on personal accountability in this approach as it revolves around the character of the decision maker. It asserts virtuous individuals will naturally make ethical choices. According to Nordhaus, there are three different effects in terms of personal accountability and social morality of the three approaches. The consequentialist approach, personal accountability is low. Decisions are justified through outcomes. In terms of social morality, it offers a pragmatic view, which might neglect personal ethical standards for the greater good. The deontological approach, personal accountability is high, emphasizing moral duties and adherence to ethics, irrespective of the results. In terms of social morality, it encourages a strong sense of duty and respect for moral laws, defending principles even against the majority opinion. With the virtue-based approach, personal accountability is high, based on individual character. In terms of social morality, it promotes a collective accountability, as virtuous leaders are expected to inspire ethical behavior in others. In reflecting upon my preferred ethical decision-making style, I greatly admire virtue and assumed I would be highly ranked in the virtue domain. However, upon completing the ELSQ, my scores indicated a preference for duty and justice, both of 4, which align with the deontological approach. This highlights my inclination to making decisions based upon what I call a moral compass, a strong sense of justice, which I prioritize. I prioritize ethics. Conversely, my lower scores in utilitarian and virtue, both of 1, imply I'm less inclined to base decisions solely on outcomes or on virtues. As I think through the results, I believe my approach to ethical dilemmas is rooted in strong sense of duty and justice, and personal accountability. I strive to make decisions that honor moral obligations and ensure fairness for all, both personally and professionally. My scores reveal key values that I consider most important: integrity and upholding my ethical obligations, and social justice, and understanding how my decisions affect the wider community. In conclusion, I believe this evaluation reinforced my belief that ethical decision-making should adhere to established principles and promote fairness, justice in all situations. The ELSQ indicates my commitment to maintaining high ethical standards and an axiom of leadership that I strive to live up to.